we're not here to negotiate. I'm here to tell you that if House Bill 5855 or anything remotely like it passes, we will see you in court.
Hey everybody, Joe, We the People Firearms Academy in St. Charles, Illinois. Today I'm here to talk to you about the third hearing of House Bill 5855, which happened a few days ago. Sorry for the delay in the video. Been really busy with life in general. Christmas coming up. You guys get the idea, right? Before we get into that, I would like to thank everybody that has, upvoted, subscribed, liked these videos. Please continue to do so if you haven't already. It really helps me, get this information out to more people. Hearing number 3, day number 3. Okay, there was a lot of people talking, including State Police Director Brendan Kelly, Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, some folks from Chicago Public Safety, Ed Sullivan, who's an ISRA lobbyist, not to be confused with the former game show host, Todd Vandermeide, and there's a bunch of anti-gunners like Moms Demand Action. There's some other ones there too, Giffords, Brady, those kind of groups. So if you guys want to watch the full video, the full 3.5 something hour hearing, I will have a link for it down in the description. There will be additional hearings in January. Okay, we don't know when those are yet. There's no witness slips available for them just yet. But as soon as I know, I will let you guys know. As far as witness slips going for this hearing on the 20th, we were about 3-1 against the bill. 9,192 opponents, 3,189 proponents. So we vastly outnumbered the anti-gunners on this one again. So I'd like to thank you guys for everybody that filled out witness slips. So give you a little bit of rundown as far as what happened during the hearing. State Police Director Kelly made no mention of whether the ISP is for or against 5855 as a whole. I would like to see, them and some other agencies come out against it. Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart is completely for it. In fact, he's probably working with the anti-gunners on this. He got on there and he just started spewing like every single anti-gun, rhetoric that I've ever heard. So it's obvious this guy's a joke. He's a lawyer. He's not a law enforcement individual. All he cares about is disarming the public. Now, Tom, why do you want us disarmed? Answer me that one. Why us law-abiding folks do you want disarmed? We're not the ones out there committing the crimes. Okay? So, I'm going to be honest. Some of the things he said, he made a complete ass out of himself. All he did was play on the sympathies. He had no factual data to back anything up. Some of the crap that came out of his mouth were stuff like, I've never seen it this bad, and everyone has guns. Good. I like everybody having guns. If everybody had a gun, everybody would be a lot more polite because they would walk around thinking, hey, I might not want to go start something with that guy because he might be armed. Every year we break a record. You hear that one over and over again. The lethality is absolutely stunning. Well, Tom, if you're so for your officers having this gun or these guns, how come you're against us having these guns? Okay. I really like an answer to that one. If they're so lethal and absolutely stunning, why should only you guys have them? All right. That ain't how the Constitution works, buddy. Some of the most lethal weapons you've ever seen, and it gets worse every day. Please, dude. And then, On top of that, he brought out a 60 round 9mm drum mag and an extended mag. I think it was like 33 rounds or something like that. And he's going around saying that innocent people all around are going to get slaughtered. There is no sane reason people should have these. Well, I disagree with you, man. I really do. Because if I'm, depending on who or what I'm fighting off, I might need those. Now, as a whole, I'd say, drums are probably a pretty bad idea just because, the more moving parts there are, the more opportunities for them to fail. Also, if you look, one of the things they did in this video was they brought out a whole bunch of, anti-gun sentiment that, it's meant to tug on your heartstrings and not deal in fact. And they were talking about the Aurora shooters and the Newtown shooters and, these mentally ill people that have committed these mass shootings over the years. One thing that nobody's brought up ever is if you look at the rate of fire during these crimes, whether it be, Virginia Tech, whether it be Columbine, whether it be the Aurora, Colorado movie theater, the rate of fire is about the same as a Henry repeating rifle since the 18. There was, in circulation and in common use around the 1860s. So if you have all these advancements in technology and these extended mags and things like that, why do we have the same rate of fire as a Henry repeating rifle from the 1860s? Okay, so it just shows you that these people have absolutely no idea what the hell they're talking about. If you want to look at who we have to blame for some of the or most of this mess, it's you, Tom, you and Kim Fox and the rest of the prosecutors that don't want to enforce the current laws we have on the books. I hear Joe Biden and a lot of people talking about common sense gun laws, right? There are over 10,000 gun laws on the books. Which one of those 10,000 didn't cover common sense? I don't know. You tell me, please. Leave me a comment down there and let me know. Or give me a call. Tell me which one of those 10,000 gun laws didn't cover common sense. So if you want to get things better, enforce the laws you have on the books. You don't need to come up with new ones. You heard there was testimony of people that were talking about the Glock switches. Like, oh, they got these Glock switches now. Well, guess what, dumbasses? Those are federally prohibited. So you adding another law to this isn't going to change anything. Criminals are still going to criminal. All you're doing is taking away the rights of law-abiding gun owners from defending themselves. Oh, man, I'm telling you. After that, some lady named Elena Gottridge got up and started spewing more anti-gun propaganda. And I'm going to put, actually, I'm not going to put some of her video in there, but you can look at it. You can watch the video for yourself. And she's over there saying that there's over 21 or 25 million AR-style weapons in this country. Well, you know what? That kind of sounds like common use to me. And, the Supreme Court decisions have ruled that any gun in common use cannot be banned. So thank you for proving my point on that one. The results are beyond horrific. Their bodies are mangled and torn apart. Apparently you've never seen anybody shot before. You're just going off of, either what the movies tell you or what these anti-gun groups are trying to persuade you as that actually happens, but it really doesn't. Gun violence, in short, is not new to Chicago and has recently been exacerbated by the availability of assault-style weapons. No, assault-style weapons, whatever you want to call those, because I have no idea what you mean by those. All right? If I were to pick up a rock, would you consider a rock an assault weapon? No, it's a rock. But if I were to throw that at you and hit you with it, did I just assault you? Yeah. Did I use the rock as a weapon? Yeah. So is that an assault weapon now? You need to think about what the stupidity, the stupid phrases you're coming up with that have no legal merit whatsoever. But AR-15s have been around for, a long, long time, all right, since the 60s. So AK-47s as well. We're not just going to limit this to ARs. So she also said that there were 12,000 guns seized last year, and of those 12,000, 1,025 were assault weapons. And then this year she said there were 1,156 assault weapons seized this year. Again, define what an assault weapon is, please. Then we can have this conversation, okay? One of the other things that was said was there's no rational basis to let parents decide whether their children can have a gun. You're referring to the, stipulation that they now want to put in an age law for 21-year-olds. So that's going to fail because Texas is realizing that's failing. They had that law and they just stepped away and said, hey, you know what? We're no longer going to challenge the constitutionality of that. We're just going to go ahead and let 18 to 20-year-olds carry because they're legally adults. So I'm kind of sick of this game where, you're 18 to do one thing, you're an adult to do one thing, but you got to be 21 to do another thing. So why do you got to be 18 to vote? Or you're considered an adult at 18, but you got to wait till you're 21 to smoke, drink. You want to make it 21 to use a gun or to have a gun. Things like that. But then why are you trying to lower the voting age to 16? Fill me in on this. I don't get it. The methodology you guys use to come up with these arbitrary numbers for ages is kind of ridiculous. The other thing, too, is let's talk about rational basis in parents and children. So they're not old enough to, smoke, drink, use a firearm, vote, or anything like that. But you let them go ahead and get sex change operations at the drop of a hat. Again, you guys make no sense whatsoever to me. One of the other idiotic statements she made, I'm going to play this for you, is she's talking about barrel loaders.
In addition to the ban on assault weapons, Mayor Lightfoot and our administration strongly urge that the legislature also pass at the same time a ban on civilian use of high-capacity magazines and so-called barrel loaders. These firearm accessories allow a user to turn an ordinary weapon into effectively an automatic firearm with the capability to deliver a barrage of bullets without reloading.
Somebody tell me what a barrel loader is. I'd like to know. Right? I'm just a firearms instructor. I've only been, shooting a little over 20-something years. Somebody tell me what a barrel loader is. Tom Dart. Let's go back to Tom Dart. He's on record. He's saying that the lack of a federal registry makes it difficult to trace who purchased these weapons. Okay, so if you knew anything, Tom, all right, you know that the Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986 made a federal registry illegal. All right, so federally, they're not allowed to have registries. Doesn't stop the ATF from infringing on that at every aspect they can. They weren't supposed to make firearms records searchable. They did that. They're seizing all the records from FFLs that have gone out of business. So they're taking all those records and making those searchable. So that's a backdoor firearms registry. Illinois is doing it next year when we can't do private transfers anymore. It has to go through an FFL. Reason that is not for safety or anything like that, but it's because when that FFL goes out of business, 25 years, or actually not 25 years anymore, it's forever now, of their records are going to get sent to the ATF to make a search. The ATF is going to make that a searchable database. Again, that's illegal federally. The ATF should get wrapped on the knuckles for that one. There are several Republicans in Congress that have brought that up, yet the DOJ doesn't want to do anything about it. So, leave me your comments on that one. Now, Tom Dart, he gave us a couple of really, really idiotic things. I'm going to play one of those for you right now.
Is this bill going to stop criminals from committing crimes, or is there anything in this bill that is going to stop the mentally insane from mass destruction?
Well, I can tell you from our standpoint that we have not just the arresting side of it, but we also operate the jail. We frequently talk to the detainees. My God, they know the law. They know the law. And if they know that these things are all of a sudden toxic, that will be a great discouragement.
So, Tom, you're telling me, and you expect everybody else to believe, that criminals know the law, and because you've enacted, or you're trying to enact these new laws, they're going to abide by the new laws, but they didn't abide by the old ones, even though, Glock switches are illegal. They didn't abide by that, but you think they're going to abide by magazine capacity restrictions? Come on, Tom. Pull your head out of your ass. Here's another good one from Tom.
I want to first go to the law enforcement. As law enforcement, I heard Chicago speak about what their weapons are and their magazines, but I didn't hear the sheriff and I didn't hear the state police talk about how their weapons compared to people that they have to face when they are called into places like schools and hospitals and homes when there are
our standard is Glocks 9mm, and it's 6 rounds traditionally. There could be not anything like this, but we can have people with 9. But traditionally it's 6 rounds, 9mm is the standard. If we have an HBT team, things like that, obviously it changes, but the standard is that, which obviously makes us outgunned.
Thank you, Sheriff Dart. And Director Kelly, could you respond?
Yes, sir. So for the Glock, the 22, it's our folks are each issued 3 magazines, and they have a capacity of 15 rounds.
Okay, Tom, tell me whenever Glock has ever made a 6-round magazine or a 9-round magazine. Okay, lowest they sell is 10. So why are your officers walking around with 6 or 9 rounds? Guess what, Tom? They're not. They're probably walking around with, 17, 18, 20 rounds. All right? So quit spewing your bullshit and expect all of us to fucking take it. You're an idiot, Tom. Now, when he's talking about the police being outgunned, right? I get it. You don't want to be outgunned, all right? But that's not what the Second Amendment's about. The Second Amendment is not saying that, we can have guns, but only if they hold less rounds than the police carry. All right? That's not it. The Second Amendment is also not a part of hunting or any of that stuff. The Second Amendment is for self-defense, for our self-defense against somebody that tries to break into my house, murder me, come after my family. And that could be a criminal on the street. It could be a tyrannical government. That is what the Second Amendment is for. That has been proven by the Supreme Court. Okay, so you can take that one, you can shove it up your ass. Now, Representative Stonebeck, the moms demand action, anti-gunner, on a crusade, whatever she is. She's framing everything as a gun violence epidemic, all right? Let me explain. There is no gun violence epidemic. What you have is a mental health problem that's masquerading as a gun violence epidemic, okay? You have problems related to, socioeconomics that are being masqueraded as gun violence epidemics. Another couple things she said were, we're doing everything we can to respond to this escalating crisis. No, you're not. You're not doing shit. Okay? Name me one thing you've done okay, to respond to this escalating crisis, right? And banning guns is not the answer. Because even if you were to ban all the guns, they're just going to come up with new weapons, knives, Molotov cocktails, cars. Look at what's going on in Europe right now, where a lot of those things are banned. Look at Switzerland. They allow firearms in Switzerland, and they have a very low homicide rate. Illinois is lagging behind other states with red flag laws. Well, guess what? Every red flag law is unconstitutional. Okay, it does away with due process. Basically, the way a red flag law works is we're going to come take your guns, and you got to come to court to prove that you're sane to get your guns back. Right? That completely does away with due process. And she also asked ISP director Brendan Kelly for more recommendations for a firearm restraining order commission.
These listed firearms legally owned today, and if this passes, they won't be. How are you going to enforce compliance?
And that will be part of our normal enforcement efforts. When we find something that is not in compliance with the law, either because it's a prohibitor or it's a ghost gun or it's a switch or whatever the case may be that makes it unlawful, that will just be one of the categories that our folks will be enforcing as they come across these firearms. But in terms of the individuals who will be allowed to retain them and they'll be allowed to keep them, that's what some of those additional resources we'll need for the unsworn personnel to set up essentially kiosks to make it convenient for folks to be able to do the process that's outlined in this legislation, so they can keep those. The information is on file with the Illinois State Police pursuant to this statute. That'll be less of an enforcement mechanism and more of a compliance mechanism.
She also said, I look forward to robust enforcement of firearms restraining orders. Again, illegal, unconstitutional, all right? All it is a way for you to come after us and do away with due process. It's kind of crap. Like I said before, every town, Brady, Giffords, they all talked, they all spewed the same nonsense, just tugging at heartstrings, didn't come up with any new stuff. Todd Vandermeide, he came up and he put forth a lot of good information, okay?
Well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Okay, is there any mention of an individual's right to a gun for self-defense or recreation in the Second Amendment?
Yes. The people. Same as the First Amendment, same as the Fourth Amendment, same as the Ninth Amendment.
There is not a single word about an individual's right to a gun for self-defense or recreation in the Second Amendment.
Representative, if any law enforcement agency in this state, if their officers are outgunned, that's a policy decision for the higher-ups within that agency. They have access to firearms the average citizen doesn't have access to because they're governmental entities. And if they are hamstrung by what they're, I have a picture of 5 Chicago police officers standing outside a police officer's home to protect it with AR-15s. They're called patrol rifles by the department. If they're not allowed to have those in the cars, that's a policy decision based on the CPD or any other law enforcement agency in this state. That's the problem, is that there are administrators, whether they be elected officials or the higher-ups within the police departments, that don't want to, one, invest in training, because I see them training at my gun club all the time, and I know how well or how poorly they do. The fact that, people have been asking for fingerprints for the last 2 years. No matter if that bill had passed, no matter how many fingerprints, the 360 background checks I pass every year, no matter how many carry licenses I have in my pocket, it's never enough. And so I don't know how you're going to enforce this. You can't put us all in jail. Your new bail law just said you can't do that. You will have civil disobedience to where people aren't going to register things. They're not going to surrender things. They're not going to turn them in. So I ask you, what is the enforcement mechanism? Are you going to send the state police house to house?
I'm going to quote from Sharon Mitchell, Cook County Public Defender. He wrote an op-ed that basically said there's no Second Amendment on the South Side. He also, that op-ed was in favor of the Bruin decision that you're going to hear from Mr. Vandermine at the end of this. And I quote, "The truth is, laws criminalizing gun possession not only devastate black and brown communities, they also fail to achieve one of their primary objectives, reducing the supply of guns on our streets." I didn't say that. Someone that should know better, that has seen the violence, that has helped communities be restored, said that. Bottom line is this bill keeps alive systemic racism as it applies to the Second Amendment. I can take my firearms, my mags, I can go across the border, I have the means. What about the people that don't? What about the people you're just going to criminalize them? There's over 70 counties in Illinois that are 2A sanctuary counties. Those folks aren't going to get arrested.
And then after that, the chairman said something so mind-numbingly stupid. I'm gonna play the clip and let you watch it for yourself.
One of the things I wanted to hone in on, at least with this particular hearing from this panel, is not necessarily the defense of your right to bear arms. Certainly we know that that's at the cornerstone of what you're presenting on, and not necessarily on the regulation side either, but what are some of the possible solutions? Many of us, I think, have grown a little frustrated with your particular perspective in.
So, excuse me? You're frustrated with people trying to exercise our Second Amendment rights and don't want you infringing upon them? What, after you're done with the Second Amendment, which one are you going to go after next? The First, the Fourth, the Fifth, right? Let's take away the right to vote while you're at it. I love the way Todd responds to this, okay? And I'm going to play his response right now.
Tell me how you bring the jobs back to the south and west side where the steel mills, the Borg Warners, and the trades jobs like that existed, so that somebody without a high school diploma could earn a living. I have nothing more than a high school diploma. I'm a trades guy my entire life until I became an accidental lobbyist. How do you sit there and bring those jobs back to where the role model in the home is somebody who carries a lunch pail or a briefcase to work 40 to 60 hours a week and not the guy on the corner with fancy chains and an Escalade? How do you fix an educational system that not that long ago had a 50% graduation rate? Solve those problems, and you'll begin to solve the problem of the violence you see out on the street.
So after that, there was a lot more chit-chat going on, and then Representative Stonebeck wanted to ask Mr. Sullivan from the ISRA if he would like to see everybody well-trained, right? So watch this.
Is my understanding correct in that in an ideal world, you would like to see every firearm owner be well-trained on how to operate their firearms safely?
So would I like all gun owners to be well-trained? Yes.
So would you be in support then of mandating for FOID applications a certain number of hours of firearm safety and firearm training?
No.
Is the first answer that you provided to this committee consistent with the second?
Yes.
All right, so yeah, I want people well-trained, okay? I do, right? I'm a firearms instructor. That's what I'm here for, to train you how to use firearms well. Do I think it should be mandatory? No. Why don't I think it should be mandatory? Because it's a right. It's not a privilege. It's not like driving a car. Driving a car is a privilege, okay? This is a right, all right? You cannot mandate training for a right. Do you need training to use your First Amendment? Do you need training to use your Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment? Any of those? No, you don't. No, I don't think that you need training in order to use a right. After that, she tried to relitigate the Heller decision, all right, which led to disastrous results, claiming there's no individual right to firearms. Well, no, sorry. The Supreme Court said, yeah, individuals do have right to carry firearms both inside and outside their homes, both with Heller and with the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decisions. So you can go fuck off on that one. So that's kind of the gist of how hearing number 3 went. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Leave a comment down in the description. And one last thing I wanted to bring up before I leave here. In my last video, I challenged any politician or anybody else that wants to come out here and debate me as far as, gun rights and gun control and things like that. I haven't heard from a single one of you. So if you really want to, put your money where your mouth is, come on, let's go. On camera, in front of everybody. Let's debate. It's an open invitation to anybody that wants to take it. Until we see each other again, stay safe and have fun on the range.